Hey everyone, it is Gills. Post-game talk, 80-61. K-State picks up one of the more impressive victories in all of college basketball this season over Iowa State. The Wildcats didn't just luck into this one, and there was nothing fluky about it. From start to finish, really, Jerome Tang's squad just controlled this game, dictated this game, and snapped a 15-game road losing streak. The Cyclones had also won 29 games in a row inside of Hilton Coliseum. So without a doubt, just a heck of an effort. Obviously, K-State executed and really showed this Iowa State team that it can compete. And Wildcats have a lot of work to do, of course, with the resume moving forward. But if Kansas State plays like this and plays the way it has the last 3 games with, dominant wins over West Virginia and Oklahoma State, and to come on the road here and win by 19 against the third-ranked team in the nation, if Kansas State can do this from now until March, this is college basketball. Anything can happen, and this was a lot of fun here. And Kansas State, Jerome Tang never gave up on his team, and we're seeing why as the Wildcats get it done here in Ames. Real quick, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. What Kansas State did today, come on, this is deserving of a like on this video at the very least. And also on GoPowercat.com, we've got a lot of written content over there as well. I know Cole and Fitz, as I'm recording this, are live breaking down this game, and so be sure to check everything out that we have to offer here on GoPowercat. But Kansas State didn't blink after it kind of got punched early on from Iowa State. I think it was 13-4. Cyclones went up, and Jerome Tang has to call a timeout, and you're thinking, here we go again. And Kansas State recovered, obviously, but Kansas State recovered on the road at KU after it kind of got punched early. At that point, it was just too late. K-State was able to kind of hit the pause button, reset, refocus, regroup. And really from that point on, Kansas State was absolutely the better team in this game. Cats shot 10 of 20 from deep, 50%. You're going to win games in the Big 12, especially on the road, when you can execute like that. When you out-rebound your opponent by 10, it was 39-29. Kansas State wins the rebounding battle by double digits. Again, you're going to win games in the Big 12, especially on the road, when you control the paint. Kansas State won the points in the paint battle as well in this game. And, Kansas State got a really just a tremendous effort from the guys that were on the court. And Coleman Hawkins, I think this was one of his best games of the year. And, this is kind of what I think fans were expecting out of Coleman Hawkins when he came from Illinois in the portal, to be that dude, to maybe take over games and just play with that swagger and be the leader. And, naturally, that's not necessarily comfortable for Coleman Hawkins. He had to kind of adjust to being more of the guy, to where he was a piece on a really good Illinois team. Coleman Hawkins is kind of taking this team on his back. And I don't want that to, take away from anything that Doug McDaniel did. McDaniel had 20 points, led the Cats in scoring. He had 5 assists, also had 5 turnovers. So, I think guys, Kansas State starting 5. I mean, I could go on and talk about Hasen's clutch, 3-pointers in this game. He only made 2, but boy, were they timely. One of them was really deep here. Max Jones is kind of maybe developing into that Desi Sills role, where he's just got amazing spark in his game. Gasson, we all know, double digits here, 8 rebounds, double-digit points, 8 rebounds for Gasson. We all know what he's about. So, Kansas State, I mentioned this on our game thread on the message boards on GoPowercat, that I was a little, not necessarily with this game in specific, but Kansas State goes down early, has to call a timeout, and Tang leaves his starting 5 in. I think it's, at the time, I was like, man, it'd be nice to see, Tang switch things up. But clearly, Tang stuck with his guys in the starting 5, and they've delivered, and they showed, why they're starters. Jerome Tang's always mentioning how he's not married to a starting lineup, and players dictate minutes. And, those 5 players really dictated, or I guess they exemplified, why they're starters and what makes them such good players. And, I could give, a 1,000-word article on each of those 5 starters. They were really the difference makers in this game. I think Moby gave you some good energy off the bench, as he has been doing as of late. But, CJ Jones fat out of this game with only 2 points. And, David Castillo, this wasn't his night. He only had 3 minutes on a short leash. And, Ugo, 7 minutes, again, wasn't necessarily terrible, but didn't kind of give K-State the spark that those starting 5 gave this team. So if Kansas State, again, I'll say this again, if Kansas State can play like this moving forward, this right here was the toughest game remaining on the schedule. You don't have to go back to Allen Fieldhouse. You don't have to play Houston again. Your toughest games, KU, Arizona, Iowa State, all those come at home. And so if Kansas State can defend its home court and steal a few on the road, this one, Kansas State, nobody was giving the Cats a chance in this game. And for K-State to come in here and do this, a very winnable game at Arizona State, you're looking at UCF, Cincinnati, BYU, Utah, those are all winnable road games. And so if Kansas State can do this, win by 19 in a hostile environment like this, Kansas State, take care of business at home, steal some on the road, and this season could really start to turn around right before our eyes. And we're seeing that this team, we're seeing why Jerome Tang remains optimistic with this team. And so Coleman Hawkins mentioned it. I'll wrap this up here by saying that Coleman Hawkins, he loves playing on the road and he loves the environment, the atmosphere, and it can kind of get you going. You can feed off of the opponent's crowd energy, right? And Kansas State on the road in its upcoming games, I don't know if is necessarily going to get that. The opposing venues probably aren't going to be as loud moving forward. So Kansas State, like we've been saying, after these wins, Kansas State has to lock in, refocus, and just kind of hit the reset button. Each game's its own season. As it goes to Arizona State on Tuesday, a much more winnable game. And if Kansas State plays like this, it's hard to see them losing ever again this season, to be quite honest. So heck of a win for the Cats, 80-61 out here in Ames. And I'm not sure any of us were expecting this to happen, but Kansas State shuts down a very rowdy atmosphere here inside of Hilton Coliseum.